Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you'll be listening to this. My name is Edinam Botsyoe, a graduate student who's studying IT at the University of Cincinnati. I'm excited to be having a discussion with Dr. Jess Kropczynski, and in a bit, you get to know more about her. So here's a little bit about the Talking Tech series. This series is brought to you by the ITU, the UNICC, and the Office of the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, and it's in support of EQUALS, the Global Partnership for Gender Equality in the Digital Age. The goal of the series is to inspire girls and younger women in information technology about a range of ICT careers and the possibility to explore diverse fields in this broad industry. Today, I'll be speaking to Dr. Jess, who also doubles as my advisor, and we'll be getting to know about her professional journey and how she landed her role currently. So I'll let Dr. Jess come in a bit to give us a bit about her background, but just so that we kickstart this from a very fun angle, I want you, Dr. Jess, to tell us in one word how you describe your current role in IT.
Sure. Well, thanks, first of all, for inviting me to be a part of this. I think this is a wonderful program, and it's encouraging to know that there are programs like this out there, and that there's passionate youth like you that are working on these topics. So my career, or my objectives, basically, I am very interested in using technology to solve social problems. And so sometimes so I lead the Cincinnati Civic Tech Lab, and so this is all technology within the civic sector, and so nonprofit, government, and communities. And so a lot of times there's issues that are persistent within these different civic sectors, and there's available technology that can come in and help to improve information flows, improve communication, or to give different types of information that are really going to benefit decision making. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important, especially because tech is fast evolving and it looks to serve humanity. And so getting to know and understand it is built on so that it serves the community well is very essential. So I think your work in policy and such discussions, especially the civic extension, is very important. Now, I want us to talk about your journey. What was your path from when you were in school till now? Did you always want to be in a space like this? How has your career journey evolved over the years?
So when I was an undergraduate, there were not programs like information technology. And so I'm currently in the School of Information Technology, which is it's an interdisciplinary program that brings together it's the meeting of people, information, and technology. And so I knew that I was very interested in all three of those things from a very early point in my career, but wasn't necessarily interested in being straight computer science. I wanted to have those human aspects, and finding that exact space took me a while. And so I started off with an interest in communications and nonprofit organizations in particular. I did a master's in public policy and administration. And during that time, I worked with some state agencies. And I became very interested then in sociology, but took on more technical aspects of technology at that time. And so I was very interested in what the dollar value of a tweet was to a nonprofit organization. And maybe being the techiest person within a sociology space required a lot more training in order to make my way truly into the information technology realm. And so I ended up, after getting my PhD, finding my way to Penn State, and I worked with Dr. John M. Carroll, he's considered one of the fathers of human-computer interaction. And so he was working with more community informatics and looking at designing a system that helped citizens interact more directly with city planners. And so that was a project that it took a lot of the things that I was already interested in, but wrapped it in more of an IT package and a design perspective. And so I did that training before going on to start my own career more within the crisis informatics space.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I think this is also a big lesson to me because I have always wanted to work at the intersection of tech and humans. And it is why I was absolutely happy to know about the work you're doing and to also connect with you to be an advisor in graduate school. And because you mentioned Dr. Carol, who you studied under, maybe we should know about some mentors that you looked up to while you were growing. In your journey, did you aspire to be like anybody? How was it like learning from them? And now, what would be the advice you give to young people, even looking for people to mentor them?
I guess I would encourage you to be persistent because I think that a lot of the best mentors are also, or people that are very action oriented and community driven, get a lot of requests. And so it does take a little bit of persistence to try to get on those people's calendars sometimes. For me, working with Dr. Carroll was a great honor. He was one of the first people to really, so he worked with IBM and he sort of created this space where he started while he was at IBM, was one of the first people to take a look at when there was the first computers. He would watch these people as they used an instruction manual to try to do their job and use a computer. And he would document their moments of frustration. Like he saw somebody actually grab their coat and try to walk out the door. And so documenting like, this is where they hit a point of frustration and trying to talk to a programmer and say, this is how we can create joy rather than frustration. And why do we have a manual for a piece of technology when this thing is supposed to be so full of information already? And so that makes sense to us because today we get technology that, if anything, it just has icons that say, here's how you get started, or like the instructions for how to start your phone for the first time are on the screen when you unbox it. But so those things were really innovative for that point in time. And so in order to work with him, I know that there were a whole lot of applicants, and I was persistent in making phone calls and trying to express my interest. I may have offered to wash his car. I have not, I was very interested in like any opportunity to just get some face-to-face time to just, because I think that people within this space are interested in people that have the same alignment, that they're not just looking for another position in a program, that they specifically have this passion for communities. So I think that everyone is excited to meet like-minded individuals. And so it's just a matter of finding a way to express that to them.
Absolutely. So this was in the graduate level, or maybe as you progressed in your career. So one lesson I picked from this was that when you're reaching out to mentors, essentially the benefit should be mutual. Are they shared interest? How are you also able to support their work? So you don't just go and say, hi, okay, I'm interested. And you want, at the point you want to now know what to do. So you should have done some background work. So let's take also the mentoring from when you were little. Was there, like, I wanted to be a doctor before, and here I am. Did you also have those dreams? What changed along the way, and how were you able to keep to the dreams you had of becoming maybe a particular career person? So what was it initially, and how has it changed?
It's a great question. I do think that I always had a passion for these interest areas, or these specific but it's hard to know where you're going to end up with, especially within the space of technology, because from the time you're small to the time you're an adult or in a career path, technology changes so much. And so trying to say when you're small, like, what exactly you'll end up in is tough. I think that I took on many interest areas as a kid, and maybe that is still true within the type of work that I do, because with technology, there's always a new type of technology. Within the civic domain, there's a lot of different types of organizations. There's also a lot of different types of problems that need to be solved. And so it's a space that allows you to be a little bit more dynamic and sort of rotate those interest areas. So maybe all of that is still aligned.
Exactly. So from a child, the interest was there, and then as you grow, then it got specific then to this particular part where you do the civic technology and also explore intersections in tech and humanity through ACI, which is human computer interaction. So very important, Doc. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now I want to go on to look at maybe the times where you had a low point in your career and your journey, and then the times where you were very proud, like you thought this was a very proud moment for you. So as a female in the space, and as for the younger ones and I who want to aspire to reach where you are and to also go forward with our career, how do you navigate times where you reach a low point in your life and you don't know what to do career-wise? What do you usually do to come out of those? And maybe you can share with us those times that you're really proud and to encourage us to also forge on with what we are doing.
Sure. Well, I think that being on the job market is can be very difficult, and I know that a lot of people experience this. You sort of reach high points as you matriculate through through your education. So you have graduations or you get certificates. So you're constantly trying to better yourself there, but you might be applying for internships or full-time jobs, and there may be hundreds of people all vying for one position. And so it can feel exhausting to knowing that you're one of 100 candidates or 200 or 1,000 candidates for a position. And it can also be exhausting to apply yourself for many different jobs. And so I know that when I was on the job market, I have probably put hundreds of applications out there, but there's a big learning experience in that. And it's also important to keep in mind that you're trying to find something that's a good fit for both you and the employer. And so when I found my way to the University of Cincinnati, they were one of very few academic programs that had this interest in the civic sector, and didn't just see. They weren't just willing to say, okay, we have the patience for you to work in collaboration with the community. They were saying, oh, we love that you work with the community. Whereas some programs might say, like, we want projects that move faster than that, because coordinating with the community takes time, because you want your interests to align and you want to be a good outcome, not just for an academic paper, but for the community to be able to have a piece of technology that they can use afterwards. So yeah, I would say that the job market can sometimes feel like a low point. It feels like a roller coaster, really, because you might get an interview, you get hopeful, and then you don't hear anything back, you feel down. But the same as I said, like trying to find a mentor, being persistent. But I also like, Lily, that you took out of that, trying to also make sure that you communicate to somebody, how things align. If you can create for yourself a personal mission statement and say, like, here's what I really want to do, and find people that have that same mission and are always putting out there like what it is, and trying to communicate like what that alignment is. Finding your way to the right job and finding your way to the the right mentors is possible. As far as high points, I would say getting established at the University of Cincinnati, establishing a research lab, and meeting like-minded students and other faculty members and partners is that's definitely a high point.
Amazing. So you just mentioned very important points for us, from how you don't have to stay at one part when you feel like, okay, you've lost everything, or maybe when your plans do not essentially come into fruition, that you keep persistent and then keep working towards the goal. That's what very important. And now, as part of your high point, you also mentioned the Civic Tech Lab. Maybe you want to tell us what the Civic Tech Lab does at the University of Cincinnati.
Sure. So the Civic Tech Lab is co-led by myself and Dr. Shane Halls, and we have been, so the two of us have both been doing work within crisis informatics, but we established this lab to be looking at technology that's used within the civic sector. We like to develop deep partnerships with communities, state agencies, or regional or government entities, as well as nonprofit organizations, and we do partner with industry as well, in order to have a deep understanding of persistent problems and propose technologies, either existing technologies or new ones, that can help to address some of those problems. So one thing that we've worked a lot with is, so in the United States, if you have an emergency, you call 911, and it's typically a phone call. But what happens when phone lines are down? And so it has been the problem during large disasters, that either phone lines get overloaded, or if electricity is down, sometimes there are opportunities where the internet is up, but the phone line is down. And so only being able to request assistance through a phone presents a limitation. And so we've looked at how emergency dispatch can receive requests for assistance through social media, even though the volume of tweets or posts on social media can be overwhelming. So how do you parse that information? We're trying to find a needle in a haystack, and develop the tools to pull out that needle effectively and move it forward to make sure that it gets to the right person to present help. So that's sort of a brief overview of the kinds of things that are the space that we're working in, but one example of a project that we're a part of.
Right. So you thank you so much for describing, and you really taught us that diverse opportunities existing in the study of HCI and civic technology, and how it's really important that aside even just the study, many industries and community come on board when it comes to engagement to people in different stakeholder groups, also to be able to find essentially what works for the whole community at large. So because this session is also towards exposing young girls to the diverse careers that exist, I know you are an associate professor. What other field in SCI or civic technology can one explore? What other career opportunities existed?
Yeah, so within industry, there's a lot of opportunities within different companies for just being a UX or UI engineer or designer. So there's different types of companies that are very interested in trying to look at the product that they sell and look at, what are the pain points for the average user. And just like that early work of trying to watch somebody use a computer and try to use the manual, it's like these similar opportunities to have focus groups, do think aloud activities, or spend time with the users of that technology and understand, how can we make this more simple, intuitive. And so you see that every day is that you one see the pain points, but you also see continuous advancements in the ways that people overhaul their interface in order to make things simpler and easier to use. And so that would be being a user experience engineer or an interface designer would be.
Yeah. So I also see, because of what you described, I also see I've been a system tester before. I see a bit of testing in this. So maybe you wanted to be, say, a quality assurance tester, a system tester, because you understand how computers interact with humans. You can probably give some ideas on that. And also another thing I see, because you also do engagement with communities, it's like a policy analyst trying to interface with communities. So very many opportunities exist, and I'm excited about exploring this field also. And we're about rounding up, Doc. So you've been on this journey for so many years. Some of us are starting, others are even in high school or in primary school and looking to also get into tech. And over the world, we have many calls or advocacy for more women to be in the space. So what would be your advice for a girl who thinks it's too difficult to do? I don't want to do this. What would you advise girls in the space to do to be able to stay focused and still find careers in this industry?
I think that if you're passionate about this, then I think that it's important to try your best to stay true to what you're passionate about, and keep seeking those things that get you excited and get you out of bed in the morning, because it is difficult. And so I think that also knowing that you're going to face challenges, and it's okay, and it's really exciting to be able to overcome those challenges. And so that happens. And when you're experiencing challenges, if you feel like you can't do it, find mentors, teachers, or people in your life or friends that help to encourage you, or help you to look for ways to move around things that are standing in your path, because there's a lot of creative solutions. And so when it comes to trying to learn how to program or to use some kind of new software or something like that, there's always going to be moments where, you know, it just takes a lot of gritting your teeth, a lot of sitting there and trying to you know, untangle whatever it is, a lot of searching for that answer. But that can, if you can try to have fun with that, if you can try to have fun trying to solve the problem or trying to overcome the challenge instead of it, you know, looking at it as something that's weighing you down, I think that if you can find joy in the challenge, then it might make it more tolerable over time. And know that everyone else has experienced the same, and be comfortable in communicating. I'm having trouble, and find the right help.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Jess, from building on it or identifying your interest and keeping to it. I mean, if you have interest, if you love the space, absolutely go for it. Communicate clearly, find help where necessary, and find mentors or speak to people in your family or in your network that are able to influence your journey positively. Thank you so much, Dr. Jess. And these were very valuable nuggets that would stay with me. And I know it will also benefit many other girls out there. If you've been watching, we've been talking to Dr. Jess Kropczynski, who is an associate professor at the University of Cincinnati and also the graduate school director. Thank you so much for doing this with us. And we'll catch you on the next session of Talking Tech Girls in ICT. Thank you.
Thank you.